call the work session of the mayor and council for the city of Snellville, Georgia, Monday, January 27th, 2025 to order. We have a quorum, everyone's present. First, we'll go through the regular business meeting. We have the invocation, is it Tunisia?
Yes.
Or Tunisia?
Yes, Tunisia.
Tunisia Estrada, to give the invocation, the pledge, anyone? Anyone?
I was still
Here I
sure.
go. Are you chewing? Then we'll have the proclamation to give out, approval of the minutes. We'll do the agenda. Then we have under the public hearing, we have the second reading on parkland communities. So I don't know if everybody saw my email from this afternoon. We will go through the full public hearing tonight. And if there's issues and everybody wants some more time to get resolved, then just do a motion to postpone. Or a motion as you see fit.
Jason's gone, so.
Oh, what did you say?
Making copies.
Oh, making copies.
Okay,
All right, we can come back.
if I could say, I really just dislike the idea of going.
Let's wait till Jason
okay.
comes back. And then the only other thing we have is the stat contract. Anybody have any questions or concerns?
Such heartburn. Such heartburn.
So we'll come back to the rezoning once Jason gets back in the room, but we'll go ahead and move on. Any correspondence? City attorney's report?
Just a quick one. We talked about updating the financial purchasing policy last time. We then realized after the fact that there is a $25,000 limit on Matt's purchasing power in your charter. So we need to go through a home rule. My recommendation, Matt and the mayor and Melissa seem to agree, is just take a figure out of there and just say mayor and council can update it from time to time. So you don't have to go, for future council in the future doesn't have to go back and do a home rule amendment too. So just a little bit of longer process.
So do we have to do home rule this, for that, this time we do?
Because it is limited in the charter at 25,000.
Okay.
So we got to do an advertisement, and vote on it twice and all that good stuff. But we're just going to take off any hard number out of there so it doesn't have to be done again.
And just to add to that, that will, because the advertising requirements, it won't be on the agenda until the 24th of February. You have to advertise 3 times.
Only really affects Matt. But
So, just so you won't see it.
Sorry.
You won't see it at the next meeting is what I'm saying. So it's just, you'll see the following meeting.
All right, Jason, we were going to come back to the parkland. Christie had something she wanted to say on that.
Yeah, just I really do have some reservations about holding the public hearing today, even though it's been on the schedule. Receiving the additional documents today, to me, is troublesome because I know that my neighbors haven't seen them. If I just got them today in my inbox, it doesn't really sit well with me to go forward with a public hearing that they have not had access to this information. They haven't had time to raise questions about it, concerns in favor or pro, con, whatever direction they wanted to go. Going ahead with a public hearing to me just seems to be a little bit disrespectful of the information process. Getting all the info to the neighbors in a timely manner, I know wasn't done. And there goes my cane. But I don't know if anybody feels in a similar manner or if you.
Am I lost? Did something come in today?
The only site plan provision on that was to increase the sidewalk and planter strip where we denied the variances, where we suggested denying them. So what that was requested earlier was to see a true site plan with the new sidewalk in. So that's the only addition to any of it. It's just along Pate is the planter and the sidewalk. So they're making that compliant with, in regards to those variances, they won't need those anymore. That was the only change. And we got that on Friday afternoon, so I didn't want to pummel you guys with that over the weekend, but that was the only change.
And I have a question, Jason. It came up today when I was out doing a site visit. Pate Road is, let me check my pictures, make sure I'm right, is 19 feet wide. How do we handle the fact that their drawings appear to show them starting right at the edge of the street and using the right-of-way? Because the right-of-way I checked, or had staff check, is 30 feet. So our residential streets are supposed to be 27 feet
Plus
the curb.
Yeah.
So you're at the extent of what the legal right-of-way is. And on their drawing, if I can get to it, it shows, it appears to show that that's actually it's hard to tell on this because there's so many different lines drawn on here, but it doesn't, there's nothing that refers to street improvements, and that would be from the corner of Civic all the way down.
It looks like it's roughly,
I went out there and I measured it.
I mean, with the new configuration, if they can't meet the minimum standards, then they have to meet the minimum standards. So if it requires improvement on that side of the road or to get to that 30 feet, they have to fix it. It's currently got a 30-foot right-of-way, so within the space that's dedicated, there's enough room to do it. And here's the...
Yeah, and how does that work? Because the existing structures on the other side of the street,
I mean, they would have to comply with the street width regardless of what's there.
I mean,
if that requires them to refinish the other side, then so be it. If they can work it in on their side, they'd have to improve it, but they have to meet the minimum street width, which is what you said. 27 feet, local street, residential.
yeah, plus curb.
Are you talking about Page Street or?
Pate Street.
Yeah, the bottom half, or the southern portion. It's got a 30-foot right-of-way there now. But within that right-of-way, you have to fit, now you have to fit that sidewalk
It's healed nicely.
and the planter strip and the road.
Right.
Right, and
But they would be required to meet that regardless at site development. We wouldn't let that one slip through. They would have to meet the standards. We just adopted that code to read it again.
Right.
because of that.
Okay, so all that takes place once the zoning's approved, and so that,
Yeah, and unless it's otherwise stated or requested as a variance, just because it's on the site plan doesn't mean that it gets approved as is. If there's something that they didn't request on here that's not up to code, just because we adopted this doesn't mean they automatically get it. They're responsible for meeting all the codes required unless it's explicitly requested a variance on. And you're gonna see this more and more with these types of things, like we just really can't identify all of them all the time. But when it gets to that point, if they don't have a variance, then they have to comply. If they can't comply, then they have to go to the Board of Appeals, or they have to come back for a change. Like that's kind of where we're at on these too, because they're getting so complicated that we just can't get them all. And if we make ourselves liable for those, then, they're like, well, we put it on the site plan, well,
Yeah.
Well,
so.
can you talk for a minute about their commercial building? Because there's aspects of that that don't meet our codes.
Yeah, same. It's kind of the same thing. Those elevations and those renderings, if they're not code compliant, they don't, and they're not asking for a variance, like those are just renderings at that point. When they come to permit the building, they'll be up against the full-scale code. And that's something we have to do it that way again, because if we were to miss something and it'd be a way for them to kind of weasel in. So again, if it's not explicitly stated in the conditions or within the variances request, They have to still meet code, and this right now is not code.
No, it's not.
So
It's
even though
definitely not.
it's under an SUP, it's not under an SUP to approve, the drive-through would not be approved just because it's on the drawings.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's
Exactly.
been explicitly communicated
Okay.
as well, heavily
Okay.
communicated.
Okay.
Gotcha.
So-
So he seemed very surprised when I mentioned that.
Well, this is how that happened, and I got the story
Very
behind it, is
tiny.
basically from the first iteration to the second one, they were trying to find a way to generate more revenue for, is it special needs?
Special.
Yeah.
Special needs, because the bakery does well, but it doesn't drive enough traffic, and basically, from what I understand, they're gonna, basically rent-free that place, and in order to get, the numbers better, said, why don't you guys try coffee, because that's an easy sell, it's cheap, you run more people through. He added it, didn't know. Christie saw it, now we know, I mean, but there, whoever saw it, you can't, just because it's on there, doesn't matter.
Okay.
I mean, that's still a whole separate process, because we've not advertised for it, we can't even do it within this case. Like,
Okay.
they would have to come back, because
They'd have
the
to come
planning
back,
commission
yeah.
didn't see it. You can't just throw in an SUP out of nowhere on the back end. I mean, you would have to start all the way over, and not communicated that as well. So,
Okay. Could you talk about that fifth variance they asked for then? It's the town center flat commercial space requirement. That was one of the ones that
The 9 feet.
was approved. No, that was letter C. This would be letter E. UDO section 206-3.1 F2E. Relation to the town center flat commercial space requirement.
oh, the 1,500,
What was it?
Tell me what you're looking at.
I'm looking at, in our agenda packet would be
The
page
last page.
3.
You got here?
Page 3?
Oh, wait,
Not
sorry.
Page 15 and 16?
Yeah,
under
sorry.
request,
I
it's
put-
under request.
Yeah,
Oh.
I put 2 pages per, sorry.
Oh, because we
For my
had to
printout.
bring that one up, that was one we caught that they didn't
Okay.
catch.
This is in
Yeah,
the
it's-
ordinance, under variances. It's probably easiest.
Is it what, E? Which one is it?
Letter
The
E.
variances, E?
Letter E.
Mhm.
So we put that one in there?
Hold on one
Is that
second.
commercial space requirement?
Right.
Okay,
That's-
so basically, that comes from number 7, and I'll just kind of read you the request. I think we added it in later because it's close, but because it's not exact in the way they did their measurements and they shown it was a crow flies, and we don't do crow flies, we do door to door.
Don't worry,
Right.
Barbara, I can find it.
It's right
Yeah,
there. It's on the back end on page 13 is where the analysis is, and it's basically in regards, remember how we got into it over here about Eris, about the commercial space? Same requirement. They use their proximity, their 1,000 feet as a circle and not a door-to-door. And basically because they were close with their own development, plus what was next door, we wanted to just make sure that it was going to be covered specifically because of what we dealt with over there. We want to make certain we felt like the intent was met with the new commercial building and the existing. But because the measurement was not 100% exact per the code, we didn't want to leave any like open-ended approval there too. So long story short, it's right there, but if you get down to some of these further pieces on the bottom, and you do your 1,000 feet circle, it doesn't get up here, right? So it just gets all these. So the variance is to basically allow this area and this commercial to count with this to make up the 15,000.
Okay.
They didn't really get into the church uses, we just kind of sat on these and these.
So it simply has to do with the proximity between the commercial to the residential?
Correct.
Okay.
And as you fade away from here,
Uh-huh.
like your 1,000 feet, the circle,
Okay.
shifts down, and at this point, it doesn't fully reach the top,
Gotcha.
technically.
Yeah.
So in order to
Okay.
kind of encompass the intent, we've added the variance so that when it came to plan review time, we
Okay.
weren't coming back.
Does the dermatology office count as?
They do, but
It's a
it
little
just
further
doesn't
away.
get them, it doesn't get them enough unless they get
Well,
the 14,000 up front, and I think there's another 3 or 4 or 5 there. So if you can't grab both without getting, back into the whole church business with the gym and all that like you did on the other one, basically, I guess the variances for allow a little bit bigger circle so that it can encompass all of them plus the new. The new is what makes it. Without it, none of it would meet it. But the ones that are further south don't necessarily touch it technically because it's a crow fly and not door to door is how we measure, just like the alcohol. So it was close enough. And you can see it down here. See what I'm saying? It's on the little vicinity map of the zoning plan. See how it touches just the top off the very bottom? And it just barely touches it. And that's not door to door. That's a big circle.
Yeah.
So it makes it, but it's not as clean like the ordinance requires the measurement. So we just wanted this to include it. You can see it on there. I should have just pointed to that the first time. Could have saved 5 minutes.
Okay.
My rambling.
That's
We're here either way, Jason. We're here
It's
either way.
there, so that helps you see it. And it's actually got the numbers on there too, plus or minus your square footage. So they actually went out a little further and included some of the Carlin vision, that big circle. So they're over and good, but the measurement technique was not correct. So we include it, wrap it up, make it all nice and neat, and say you're good on that one. Simple and as complicated as it can be on one.
Okay. And I think some of these questions might be good to also
race.
ask out in the public meeting too. So that,
You're gonna have a pretty big turnout in the church.
Oh yeah, they were here for the planning commission.
Yeah, it was announced at the end of the church service yesterday and in the newsletter and
Yeah, I
everything.
walked in and it was the first thing I saw was the Sunday Chase folks. And I was like in the whole room and I was like, this isn't your meeting. And then I walked in and it was all the church people. I was like,
Yeah.
it just felt a little easier. Not good, not good.
Well, if you feel that would be a huge, anyway, I said enough. Go ahead.
okay, so we will go forward with the public hearing. Like I said, anybody has any heartburn, there's the motion to postpone. It is certainly an option. Okay, so back to the work session agenda. Did we cut you off or you were finished?
No, it's right.
So discussion items. The Gwinnett County House Delegation rule change regarding annexation. This was an email that was just sent out Thursday by Randy Meacham. I'm not sure that everybody got it because he sent it out on the mayor and manager email. And I meant to forward it to everybody and don't think I did. Do you want to explain what this is about?
Yeah, so it's an amendment to their rules in regards to the amount of delegates that are required to approve an annexation in the city, annexation in the county. And from what I understand, it's usually just the delegates that represent the area that is delegate, that is annexed. So, for instance, if we want to annex something in the city of Snellville, it would be our folks at the delegation level, our state reps, our house reps that are helping us with that.
Which is already 4.
Yeah, they want to change that to where all 22 delegates have to approve any annexation that happens in the city. So let's say that this scenario passes through, then if we want to annex something, then people that represent Swanee and Sugar Hill and Beaufort would have to sign off an annexation in Snellville. Our recommendation, I mean, and it's not just ours, but GWA's, is that we need to oppose, that we need to let our delegates know that we're not in favor of folks who aren't involved in the city of Snellville representing us deciding whether or not we can annex, and vice versa. I mean, it's really not fair for our folks to decide something in Peachtree Corners or in Old Croft. So that's really what it is, it's just that,
And this is only for annexations that come from the General Assembly, like a one-off
Yeah.
property owner can still
That's right.
come through the city and go through the normal process and never even touch them.
that's right.
This is just if we were deciding to take an annexation through the legislative process rather than through the property owner process. So the crux of the email was asking for council members to call representatives, the Gwinnett delegation, and express that we are not supportive of this and would appreciate their consideration of leaving the rules the way they are, given that Gwinnett is so big and has so many different
So
members.
I didn't pick up on this. Is this a statewide change or is this a just going to be for Gwinnett change?
I believe it's just.
Gwinnett
just for-
delegation
just for
rules
Gwinnett, yeah,
for
just
local
okay.
legislation.
Yeah. It is not a bill that's being introduced,
Okay.
that would apply. Yeah. Not that I know of.
Okay.
Sounds to me like somebody's ticked off some
Yeah,
Gwinnett delegation.
that's interesting.
And if, because it changes, if anyone needs to know who our delegation is, just let Mercer and I know, we'll get you guys the contact information.
But what would be helpful, if anybody's got the time or the inclination to go ahead and call our Gwinnett delegation and let them know that we would not be in support.
There are some you probably don't want me to call.
Some I probably would not pick up.
But I think this is going, was it going to committee or going to vote? It was a really short time fuse on it, I think like.
I don't really know how delegation rules work, to be honest.
According to Randy's email, which was a forwarded email from the city manager of Lawrenceville, Chuck Worthington, that it might be considered as early as tomorrow.
Boy, that doesn't give us much time.
Melissa just forwarded you the email. So if you've got time first thing in the morning, want to make a few phone calls, much appreciated. Or send out some emails.
Make it part of the assignment I'm doing.
Okay? So that's what that is about. Really no other like city action at this point other than just expressing our displeasure on that one. Ongoing projects.
Thank you, Mayor. So I'm referring you to your city projects update spreadsheet here. Under the Green Town Center construction progress, the GROW, we are going to begin getting routine emails from Cricket Can, routine updates of what they're doing each week. Similar to what we did, if you recall, with the general site, if you remember, Midcast would send those out. So I will be forwarding those to you and the members of the DDA each week, so you're just aware of what's going on. But in there, they've completed their framing, interior framing. They're working on their plumbing and fire alarm systems this week. That's kind of the highlight. There's several other things I didn't list in this that you can look back on. Each will have kind of a list of what they're working on with some pictures. And so it's informative. It's nice to kind of get those so that if anyone asks you, what's going on down there? You can just refer to the latest week on what they're looking. But it's so much different an interior build out than a whole building. I mean, once the building's done, there's very little that stops them from working on the interior. I mean, whether they were delayed with the snow, just because you're trying to get people there, it's a little bit different. But rain, other kind of issues, I mean, they don't have
Permits and inspections.
Good, yeah, that could be a challenge, but other than that, I mean, it's just a different process. It can move a lot faster. We've begun work, staff's begun work on programming, a programming calendar for 2025, which is kind of some ideas of things that we've thought went well over the kind of the last half of the year we did things. Some outdoor movies, trick-or-treating event, cornhole, things like that we felt good about.
I was trying to figure out what cornhole is. See, cornhole.
Oh, like.
Oh, shoot, I forgot the H on it. Cornhole, thank you. That was a test, and you passed.
It's Mexican, and it's starting in March.
It's just cornhole with tomatoes. So cornhole begin, and, we'll be talking with, well, Crooked Can is doing their build out, and they're targeting May for their stuff to open. We want to actively target some of these restaurants for ribbon cutting and other kind of events that celebrate their opening, especially Crooked Can, because it's so expansive, yeah. So we'll keep you guys in the loop as we have those conversations with those folks. The restaurants, the 2 restaurants, they're still in permitting with Gwinnett County. That's all I'm going to say about that. We'll do what we can on our end to help them move along. On a happier note, sidewalk improvements. So the poles have been removed, the transfers have happened, the poles have been removed. So now it's just coordinating with the GC to get them out there to finish the rest of that. Just the little sections of sidewalk they need to fill up and pour with some punch list items and some things they've got to take care of. Hopefully, obviously it rained a lot today, so it's got to dry a little bit before they can get out there and pour those little sections of concrete. But hopefully the next few weeks we'll have them out there.
Silly question. Did they fill the holes that they pulled the poles out of?
I don't know that, but
I just am concerned because a lot of people walk through there, and with the Johns Creek lawsuit,
okay.
If we could just have someone double check that.
Yeah. And if we need to, maybe our public works guys can put up some dirt in there for now. On the 6 holes or whatever. Okay. Just moving right along here.
Do we have any indication if the contractor's going to be able to get out there quickly, or is it going to be, I don't know if you talked to them.
They're as eager to get out there as we are.
Okay,
Okay. They were actually have been bugging as much as we have AT&T. Because it's just his money we're going to hold until it's done. So, it's not a ton of money because they've done the majority of it, but nevertheless, it's money.
It's an open job on their books, which is frustrating.
So I think as soon as they can get in, they want to get in and get out and get on to everything else. So
I just didn't know if they were like.
I think the weather will be our biggest, getting enough dry weather for it for them to actually be able to get out there and pour it to be functional. So the zoning guidelines, and so the planning commission will review the UDO amendments that we've all talked about tomorrow. And if there's any other, we'll bring them back to you guys to look at if we need to at the retreat to make sure that everything is covered and we're good. But it's in the PC's hand tomorrow, and if it needs to circle back to you guys, it will. I'll take care of that. Package sales, Jay, anything other than what's been
waiting.
working for it? Perfect.
Is this going to become an issue, like I foresee down the road, that we're going to get blamed for this?
Which one?
For which? The
The package
lottery.
sales.
Blamed in which way?
I thought we're already blamed for it.
We're the ones who are sitting on it, as opposed to the judge.
It's tied up in litigation, there's nothing we can do.
So I can tell you, Jay and Chuck have moved as fast as the laws allow them to. Once it gets to the court system, it's really kind of out of their hands. We filed as soon as we could.
We had federal suits from the previous administration that went 5 years. And it was just waiting on judges.
And that's kind of where we are now.
And then it's like, so they, filed an appeal, and then we had like a time frame, 45 days to reply, and we replied in 30 days. And then they get to file a reply to our reply, the opposing side, and then they get 45 days, and they file on the 45th day. So you're already looking at 4 months right there. And then
And their attorney is a state rep.
And then,
Luckily, his.
well, and I'm not even talking about that, I'm talking about some of the other lawsuits that we faced in the past. And then it goes to the judge, and then the judge has like 6 months or 8 months to look at things, and there's nothing you can do to speed the process up. It just is what it is.
Okay, yeah.
So, anyone can blame anyone they want, and it doesn't change the
That
situation.
presentation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
It rolls off my back because it's not in my control.
Briscoe Park, so we're opening bids tomorrow.
Yay, all right.
If you believe in a higher power, throw up a prayer. We want to get within our budget here.
That we could get under $12 million and some number for
North of Wisteria, so got our pre-bid meeting. Permits for the sewer line, we're close to getting those. We're close on the right of way for those two properties. And they'll be starting here for the next couple of weeks. We'll be starting the sewers portion of it, which enables us to do the rest of the project. Just one of those things. An expense that we have to incur. And then purchasing policy, Jay went over that already with you on that process.
Just a little bit, right?
So expect that on February 24th agenda, next month.
All right, so that's all I have on the work session agenda. We do have the Gwinnett Prom coming up next Friday night. And I forgot, I need
All right.
to email the check to reimburse for Fred's ticket.
Oh, my
And
Tito's open.
we have our public hearing for the opting in or out House Bill 581 on Thursday.
Thursday, 6:30.
In the big one? I also wanted to mention, Representative David Scott is going to be at the Snellville Senior Center on Thursday, the 30th. I think the time frame is 10 a.m. I forwarded the information in an email kind of late today, so you may not have seen it yet. I don't know if anybody has time to fit it into the schedule to go, but it would be a great time to meet Congressman Scott.
Well, and he's working on, we've been working with his officer, Matt has, about, haven't you been working with
But
him?
it was Lucy's, wasn't it?
No, this is the new, this is David Scott's.
I kind of thought.
That's all I
You need help with things.
Yeah, I mean, what's happening down at the community center down at Centerville is kind of like their, I don't know how often they do this. but they-
Constituent services.
Yes, so it'll be, they'll have staff people there to help with
And
passports
when
and.
John Ossoff did his here, John Ossoff did not show up, so.
Yeah.
No,
David Scott may or may
no,
not
it is,
be.
they've
He
already
says
had
that
a press
he's-
release on it. Yeah.
So there's that, and then we're working on having him, having a meeting set up with us, with him
Oh, okay,
and his staff.
okay.
So next week, on Wednesday, there's GWMA.
Mhm.
Thursday, there's something.
Tomlin.
Potentially.
Yeah, Matt's gonna reach out and try to get that rescheduled because he's an awesome dude.
Yeah, it's just a busy week for you guys. I mean, it'd be Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, city business.
And then Monday, a council meeting.
And then Monday council meeting.
Matt had it as tentative for February 19th to meet with Representative Scott,
Perfect.
but there's no time yet. So if you want to just make a note on your calendar. Oh, and Jackie from Old Hickory Village, each year they do their, they invite us to their August meeting. That's August 24th at 4 p.m. I know. So I know it's early, but.
I was gonna say, is it time for that already?
But I'll forward you this email and we could just let her know who might be able to, chief if
print it out till
you're
June.
or since it's-
Well, since that's the Sunday before qualifying, I'll be there.
Oh, that's right, elections.
So yeah, that was their Jewel. I haven't responded to her yet.
And then just last is a scheduling item. If we all could just look at our, so Tomlin has wanted to get you guys out there and meet their new management for the last several
Yeah.
weeks. And they've just picked days and times that just,
Yeah,
you know,
it
yeah,
always
I mean,
hard.
it's like the one day we literally can't do it, like when we had that special call meeting on January 16th to go over, you know, the retreat, pre-retreat stuff. I mean, so if we could just look at our calendars while we're all together and just, I can give Crystal, the new manager, a time that we could all go over there so that she's just not emailing me. And really emailing you guys with an official invitation where we just aren't, our schedule is just not, you know, with that. Is there a specific time in February day?
Oh, so you're not talking about the email that we got inviting us to?
I am
Yes.
talking
By
about
the new,
I am talking about that.
okay,
And that would be next Thursday in the midst of all this other stuff that you guys
Right.
have going on.
We have,
Um,
yeah, Gwinnett Municipal Association's general meeting is the 5th. Then we would have that on the 6th. And
I'm
then
tied up on the
and then-
20th.
the prom on
Okay.
And then the 8th.
And then the 8th is our full day retreat.
And it's just a lot going on
And you got a council meeting on Monday, so I mean, it's just a lot.
And the dentist
So,
appointment.
I think it'd be better if we just told her, hey, here's a time we can do it. Because I think they're probably flexible, they're just,
that. How about like February
13th,
12th? Yeah,
12th or 13th, they're fine. No,
13th. I can't do Wednesday.
Okay.
Thursdays.
Thursday the 13th. I could do Thursday the 13th.
Maybe
All
suggest
right,
that
all
one.
right, we'll see.
No music bingo.
No music bingo.
All right, thank you both, I appreciate it.
Thursday the 13th.
Yeah.
I'll put it.
We're just gonna, you're just gonna confirm.
Yeah, this just still tentative, so.
Okay.
Valentine's Day thing.
Can I talk to Jay outside for just a second before we adjourn to ask him a question that may or may not involve going into executive session? Let's go this way, Jay, because there's clearly people over there.
sounds like it.
Christie, while we're waiting, not to put you on the spot,
No worries.
well, I'm going to, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Just as far as grow programming goes, is the SYC planning on
Yes.
doing Unity Day? Okay.
Yes.
All right. In June again?
Absolutely, same day.
Okay, perfect. Okay.
Same day, yeah.
We want to make sure that's on our on our radar, so
Yes.
programming.
Yeah, we have, remember we budgeted for that?
We did, I just want to make sure
Okay.
that we're, you know.
Right, yeah, they're supposed to start planning any time now.
Perfect, okay.
And that'll be
June
June.
19th. We may or may not be here based on GMA.
Yeah,
Savannah, that's one of the only concerns.
what day is actually June 19th this year?
It's
Thursday.
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 Some of us
So
leave.
folks that might be leaving for Friday
Yeah.
classes or whatever.
So I won't be
Yeah,
doing.
I always go Thursday for Friday
Right.
class.
Will not be going that, at that time this year then.
And what time would it be?
It would be
Was it
probably, what did we do last year?
It was evening.
Like noon
It
to
was
4?
evening.
No,
wasn't
like
it?
later.
It was later.
Because I came up
We
with
did
like
like 4 to
4 to
8 or something
9,
like
or
that.
4 to 8. Yeah, 4 to 8.
It was after school,
I just want to go ahead and.
Like a 4 to 8.
but even though
Summer.
it wasn't summer, I'm saying it was
Yeah.
after school hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty sure, yeah, 4 to 8.
Because you guys were there setting up as early as 1
Or earlier, yeah.
Yeah, 1 or
4 to
12,
9.
at noon or 1 to get everything set up for 4
Yeah, I don't
o'clock.
leave till about 9:30.
What I missed? What are we talking about? Cookies?
We're talking about
Oh,
Unity.
Unity Day.
Juneteenth.
Hey, we go into executive session for minutes.
Sure.
Control litigation.
You bet I did.
I guess I
That's why we're having going to executive session.
too late, so everybody